What's up? I'm travel photographer Brendan Vanson of Brendon'sAdventures.com, and today I'm going to be going through some images from the Naadam festival here in Mongolia. So a couple days ago I got to witness the Naadam festival here in Mongolia. This is like the Mongolian Olympics. They do all the traditional sports from here in Mongolia, things like ankle bone games and archery and wrestling, which kind of looks like Mongolian sumo wrestling. And they also have like an opening ceremony and lots of other cool stuff. And it was a cool opportunity to photograph, but it was a little bit on the boring side, I think. So instead of doing a traditional on location or getting the shot episode, I'm just going to take you through some of the images and give you my thought process on how I took the images, how I edited the images, and basically what I was trying to do with the photos I took. Now, before I get to these images, I want to tell you to do two things. First, stop making fun of my haircut. I know it's bad. I know it's out of control. Two, once you stop making fun of my haircut, once you stop laughing at my haircut, please head over to Brendon'sAdventures.com and seek out the sign-up sheet for my newsletter. When you do that, you get a free copy of my adventure travel magazine, Vagabundo magazine, which is awesome. I promise you it's worth it. So yeah, head over and do that. Now, let's get over to the images. Okay, so these are the Naadam images I'm going to show you. Obviously, I kept like 30 or 40 images, but I'm just going to show you a select 5 to 10 images really quickly to show you what I was up against at Naadam shooting this scene. So basically right in front of us, this is the stadium in Ulaanbaatar, and as you can see, our seats weren't great. We were way at the end when all the festivities were happening up here. So I didn't have a lot to shoot. I had way less than I'd hoped to. If you want to get like really close to the action, you need to be over here if you're doing Naadam in the future. You still get a good view of everything that's happening, but from a photography standpoint, it's a little bit difficult to shoot. So it made it a little bit tough there at the stadium. What I try to do at stadiums is when I have like a huge scene in front of me is rather than focusing on the whole scene and getting the whole picture, just to creep in and grab some close-ups of the action and try to break down the things in the stadium and kind of focus on the details. And that's what I've done here with this image. So this was shot with the 70 to 200 millimeter lens at 185 millimeters. And basically I was just hoping for some lines. So I've got some cool lines from their formation here. I was trying to get some of the action of the dance as well with the zoom. Again, this is 195 millimeters on that same lens. And I was just kind of trying to create some layers here. So you got the dancers, and then you've got the military guys, and then the stadium in the background. So kind of what I was going through there. This image, it started raining, so all the umbrellas came out, and sometimes the best action is actually in the crowd. You see the spectators are often the best photographed, especially when you get stuff like this rain, just all these umbrellas out, and it was a really cool scene actually to shoot. Again, that's with the 70 to 200 millimeter at 155 millimeters. Now, we moved on to the archery, which was much easier to shoot because you could get really close to the action. We wanted to shoot the wrestling, but it was almost impossible because they do it in the big stadium, and they were just way too far away from us. So at the archery, we got some cool stuff. Again, almost everything was shot with the 70 to 200 millimeter. We got some really cool portraits. This is an older gentleman, as you can see, in the traditional outfit. And I really wanted to focus on him. So this is f2.8, which is really narrow depth of field. But when you're shooting at a distance like this, everything's still not like completely blurred out. And it makes for a cool scene. One of the most important things I find is to make sure your subject is at 2/3, as he is right here. Another important thing when you shoot sports or photography is a lot of people focus right on the action. And when you focus on the action, yeah, you get the scene, you get the shot, but you miss a lot of the reactions. So when an archer like this shoots, sometimes I like to just stay focused on them to watch their reaction, and you get like all this joy in their face or anguish or whatever. That's where you get the true emotion in the athlete. So that's what we did here. We just focused in on this guy and waited until he shot his image.
or sorry, shot his arrow. And once he finished shooting, I just shot away, and we got a really cool reaction out of him here. On to the next one. This is basically right after the point of shooting, before the arrow struck. Again, it's a reaction shot, and I just love the look on his face. This was edited a little bit harder than most of the other images. I added a lot of clarity. Again, that goes to the point of you've really got to focus on the guy even after they shoot. Don't bother following the arrow. Don't watch the action. Focus on the person's reaction, because as a photographer, that's what you're looking for. You're looking to tell a story. On to the next one. This comes down to basically the details. When you're shooting an image, you really want to make sure you get the whole thing in your shot. So, like, most people might cut this off here, some people might cut this off here, but you want to get every detail. So when you're looking through your viewfinder, make sure everything is in your frame and you're not cutting anything off. We got close here. You see the little top of his hat is barely on the edge of the image. The arrow's at the corner. His elbow's in there. His eye is basically at the 2/3 mark. So it's, from a composition standpoint, it's basically dead on. That's exactly what you're looking for. But you can do that after in cropping, but you really, really, really want to do that in camera through your viewfinder. That's the most important thing. Let's move on to the next image. This is out at the horse races, and this is basically doing absolutely everything in photography you can do wrong and still getting a cool image. This is proof that you can mess everything up and still have a cool photo. So basically, I shot this way too wide from way too close with a 10mm lens. And normally you'd want to shoot this a little bit farther away and with a little bit less distortion and not directly into the light. So I've done everything wrong here, but in a way it actually really works. Sometimes when you use a really wide angle lens from really close up to a subject you usually shoot from far away, you get these really cool reactions because you are right there in the face of the subject. And I just love the look on the face of these two guys. So I did everything wrong and it still came out cool, and you cannot complain about that. Now this is an example of using a different lens for a shot that you might use with a zoom lens. Normally you're going to shoot like a 70-200, maybe a 50mm, 85mm. I shot this super wide because I just loved the view. I thought it was really cool with that green grass in there. And this guy was just dressed so well from head to toe that I wanted to get it all in. So I went to 1/3, the rule of 2/3 here, and I shot him super wide, 11mm from fairly close, which allowed me to get like a nice look on his face. And it's kind of got a personal feeling to the image. And I love that portrait. It's probably my favorite portrait from Naadam. And yeah, this is the final image, I believe. Again, normally I want my subjects to be looking at me when it comes to portraits and stuff like that, but there's some sort of images that just look good when they're like this, when they're looking away from you, and it kind of gives it like a serene look. And it tells a story. They're all looking off into the distance. He's got his horses at its side. It's in his traditional outfit. Now, in an editing standpoint, I haven't touched any of these images very much at all. Just added a little bit of contrast sometimes, maybe a little bit of an exposure mix. And in this image in particular, I softened the clarity. So I reduced the clarity just to kind of give it a dreamy look. And I'm happy how that came up. And that's it. As you can see, Naadam was really cool, but it was probably a little bit underwhelming as to what I expected it to be. Still, it's an event that you should probably check out as a tourist. Mongolia in general has been very, very cool so far.
Anyways, that's it for me here in Ulaanbaatar. I hope to catch you next time. Peace.